Lio finally dropped his response on April 26th at 8:30 p.m., a 4-hour premiere. While he does shed some light on Peaches and provide some context, and even some apologies, the video is very flawed. In fact, that's an understatement. I won't be going into the entire video, so I'll link it down below, but we're going to start with his apology segment.
Next up is Crystal Flame. I'm sure people have noticed that video is gone now. I deleted it, because that video's information wasn't accurate. It did damage to a person I should have shown more kindness to. While I think her threat and some comments and actions were out of line, something she agrees with and even mentioned in her video response, so go check that out. I don't believe she's the malicious person I was convinced she was. I'll go more into why that video shook out the way it did in a further section, but this is a direct apology, public, to Crystal, Dorito, and the other people that video hurt. I'm also sorry to the people I treated poorly or like enemies. I will, again, be explaining my actions more in depth a bit later. But apologies are still needed as the actions were still mine. The apology belongs to people like Harley, who should have been given more grace in general instead of being pushed into assuming the worst. Alongside that is Mally Malware, who I tried to get to cut off people like Harley, Thuman, and Cringy. It also goes to people like Manga Common, Asuka, Nikki, and a few others I'm probably forgetting because of the sheer amount of damage I've done. Explanations will come, I promise, but I'm genuinely sorry for those actions. One apology that seemingly comes out of nowhere, though, is an apology to Akumu. In a previous video, I called him the king of false allegations. This is because Peaches was scared of being falsely listed as a predator in his FCK video. But that's due to Kumo, in a call he didn't know was recorded, stating it was his intent to do so.
And it would just come back to me regurgitating this point and reminding you that Peaches tried to cover up the fact that she was in a love triangle between Toasty Vanilla, who was like in his mid-20s, and the Teddy that draws, who was like 15 or like turning 16 at the time, when Peaches herself was 19 turning 20 back in like 2019, 2020.
Well,
it's all in plain sight.
You say this a reminder, but I actually didn't really know much about this.
I did tell you
feel
about
like
this.
I feel like it's been mentioned, but I don't know a lot of context behind this.
Me and Akumu I thought he would have told you, but I thought I've been kind of like forward about it whenever I've discussed it, is that this is the kind of shit that this is the shit that Peaches wants covered up and doesn't want acknowledged.
So for that, Akumu, I do also publicly apologize.
Notice how he only addresses him calling me the false accusation supreme, but not here, and not once in this video does he admit to the fact he lied. He did state that he took down the Crystal Flame video, conveniently the video that further proves he lied, but I'll explain. In Lio's A Crystal Flame video, he played a few clips from a call that was held on February 25th with him, Crystal, and Peaches. In this call, Peaches admitted to knowing Slammers was a minor.
If Slammers was that, then I think I knew their age as 16 or 17.
Yeah, but you were also dealing with the after effects of being groomed because you were still in contact with the guy who groomed you. Because this was what, right before the door stuff happened?
And they even talk about how Lio is going to rush his Conundrum video to get it out before me.
I can easily get this video up for him. Even if I stay up all night, I can get it done.
The Conundrum video came out the next fucking day, February 26th, and in it, he claims that he doubted Peaches knew there were minors.
Even at the time this all happened, they were still being manipulated by said groomer. So even if Peaches was 100% aware that there were kids in the server, which personally I doubt,
he flat out lied whilst pushing that I was trying to control the narrative. And in his Addressing Things video, this video doesn't admit to that, not a single fucking time throughout this 4-hour video. Even his admin, Zach, admitted that Lio Convoy lied when me and Kumo spoke with him in Kumo's Discord server.
There are some people that think I should just address my wrongdoings and apologize and do only that. But that's not how this works. I'm not obligated to let dishonest, crazy people take shots as though they have a place to. The only reason any of them are trying this is due to the fact that I've exposed them for other things in the past. Possibly because at this point they have a vendetta against me for that. And I'm going to line that out here. This isn't a defense of the Rosa stuff, so cool your jets. While information should be taken regardless of source if it's true, in cases like this, paying attention to the history and biases of said sources is also important. If it was someone who has known me for a few years and doesn't seem to have any biases against me other than genuinely telling me when they think I'm out of line, paying heed to them would make more sense. But the people I'm talking about here have a bias rooted in the fact that they've been called out for their actions by me in the past. This isn't about the truth. This is about trying to settle a score. Heck, it's written in the first person's description of his first video on me. Kumo is a small commentator that's made a name for himself by his edgy demeanor and his inability to pick up cues of the basics of right and wrong. To the outside observer, you may be thinking that Kumo's videos on me are informative and correct. This is where a term called sophistry comes into play, because it's all Kumo has. The moment you inspect anything he says, it falls apart. And there's no better example of this than the initial video addressing the fact that he convinced a mentally ill woman to carve his name into her thigh. Wait a minute though, that's not what the original runtime was. That's because Kumo snipped it down. But don't worry, I have the original. I also have the second one where he further lies and tries to excuse his actions.
What I'm getting at here is, at one point, there was a call where the entire fucking group chat was in. Mind you, everyone at this time had really long names except for myself and one other individual. Asta, in this group call, started talking about how much she wanted to cut, and naturally these freaks kept fucking validating it and encouraging it. They even stated that they wanted to do it too. She then said that she wanted to cut someone's name into herself. As you probably expect, these freaks all go me, 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 me. I've already tried discouraging it, and I said, could you not? These are the types of things you would hear me say. People who know me know this sounds exactly like me. I fucking swear on my soul this is how I interacted with them that day. But that did not work. Am I surprised? Not entirely. So it's at this point she turns on her camera and she shows that she already has a fucking razor in her hands. She then says, whose name should I cut? I say, do mine. Logically speaking, this was going to cause the least amount of damage. This is why I made this panicked fucking decision. My name on Discord is only 4 letters. I even told her, do not cut deep.
Keep all of that in mind. He claims he was panicked, that people were clamoring for their names to be cut, that he did it to get her to carve the shortest name. The last part was already debunked by Ephraim, and a link for that will be in the description. I've also been told that Kumo has told others that this was a kink thing that happened in a server. However, literally nothing he's saying is true. I know this because I have the clip. I can't play the visuals for you because it would allow the video to be flagged, but a link will be in the description for you to see it at your own discretion.
What should I cut?
What?
What should I cut into me?
My name.
Really?
Bestie.
Okay. I'll do it on cam. Hold on.
Yeah, that's fast.
God, she's actually got
That'd be funny.
Let me turn up my screen share.
Like, not deep, because then, like, no, don't leave any evidence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Watch food doc strap chat and like force him to join. Yeah, that'd be best as fuck. Someone just stalk him, like force him to join. If he doesn't join, you just like go to his address. Yeah. I've never seen trap chat in real life. I don't know how he looks like.
I don't know if I spelled anything right because I can't see because of my light. Hold on. I mean, I kind of got it. Hold on. I'll fix it.
Epic. Epic. Alright, now like go like press a napkin on it and like hang it on your wall. No.
No, it is. Hold on.
It's fine.
I don't think it.
It's okay, we all know what it is though. We know what it means.
It turned out better than I thought.
Cumb. I'm kidding. It looks like
Oh yeah, that's from when I was on a call with you.
with me or him?
With him.
Is that your leg or your arm?
Yeah.
Can't tell.
It's my leg. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's my leg.
God.
Let me take a picture of this. Come
Oh no.
on, it's a-
I'm gonna get canceled, dude.
Who has OBS open?
I do.
Nobody-
What are you gonna do about it?
Clip that. Clip you saying cut Kumo.
Do you hear any panic? Any others clamoring for their names to be cut? Even their names lighting up in the Discord thing? When you've seen it? And if you'll see it, you'll see that there's no other names lighting up in the Discord call. No, because that's all a lie. A fabrication because Kumo is genuinely scared of this getting out and being properly shown.
Your clip doesn't show him making her do it, just suggesting his name, and how is Kumo scared of it getting out when he's asked you all several times to provide both the full clip and the group chat all in one video when you all talk about it? That doesn't make any fucking sense, Lio.
He was giddy in this call, happily telling her to do it, as well as to further convince her to put a wet paper towel on it so his name would be shown when it dries. These are not the actions of a stressed individual. Kumo was smack dab in the middle of his right mind, and for the claims of this being in a kink server, nope, group chat. Here's a screen cap of the chat.
Are you going to show us where it's been claimed that it was in a kink server? Because I've never seen it be claimed that. He's never claimed that to me. It's always been a group chat. So if he's claimed this in some kind of video or message or something, you should probably show that.
Kumo has claimed in a second video that this clip is always presented without context. Now, he's never given us context outside the obvious lies he said about the events, so what further magical context there is remains a mystery to us mere mortals. But let's entertain the idea that this was in a kink server, and was consensual. Consent is important, no doubt about that, despite Kumo's lack of care for that you'll see later. However, consent only goes so far when you admit you already know that the alleged partner already struggles with self-harm and isn't well. You can try to excuse it using your own mental health issues like Kumo has tried to do, but that dog won't hunt. End of the story is that Kumo has been lying about this event to his audience and to the people in his circle.
You claim Kumo hasn't given this context, and yet you just previously admitted that you have the original video before he clipped it.
The moment you inspect anything he says, it falls apart. And there's no better example of this than the initial video addressing the fact that he convinced a mentally ill woman to carve his name into her thigh. Wait a minute though, that's not what the original runtime was. That's because Kumo snipped it down. But don't worry, I have the original.
That video contains their DMs and the group chat. The reason Kumo clipped it is because towards the end he started yelling, and he thought that it negatively impacted the video, that he was malding. He wasn't trying to hide anything within the video. Since you have that original video, Lio, as you've just said, unless you're lying yet again, why are you claiming he never gave that context? I've seen the original video before he clipped it, and if you have it, why not go over it? Unless, of course, it's inconvenient.
If he were truly apologetic, he wouldn't make it a joke on social media, nor would he be telling random people to repeat the actions themselves when pressed on it. He's not sorry, he's just a liar.
He and Inla are mocking you and your audience for continuously making the claim. That's what's taking place, you know that. It's you all that keep bringing this up constantly as some kind of gotcha. And inconsistently at that, but we'll talk about that when we actually get to that conversation that we're apparently going to have. You know for a fucking fact that what this is. It's mocking you and it's mocking your audience, and you don't like that.
Now, he's also claimed that he was pushed to do this via abuse by the individual he had cut his name into her leg. There seems to be a little bit of evidence to the fact that she was unwell and did force him to do things. However, that doesn't change the fact that he's still lying about things, and that some of the things he claims about this person isn't backed by evidence. Maybe I'll cover those videos someday.
A little bit of evidence, he says. Lio, you just fucking claimed Kumo has never given the context, and then you mention that she pushed him into this behavior, yet don't provide any evidence still. So you know what? Let me just do your job for you. Now, I'm not going to deny that this Asta individual is mentally ill. They're very, very clearly mentally ill. So I'm not even going to get into that. Instead, I'm going to get into just the group chat, not even the DMs, just the group chat to show you exactly what went on. Because they like to paint this as though this was some mentally ill girl that Kumo took advantage of and made her cut his name into her. When in truth, this individual was aiming to get Kumo into this kind of shit, and was trying to normalize it for him. That was actually one of the purposes of this group chat, was a bunch of people who were into that shit. And Kumo was dragged into it, which he explains through the DMs and whatnot, and he's explained this already before, but anytime he's talked about this, it's been ignored by these people. The earliest thing sent into this group chat was by Asta, a meme gif about a grooming session. Another meme that was sent by Asta. Me, with a girl grabbing the guy's face and a caption on her head, a girl who will manipulate and abuse me. Or how about this banger? Here is Asta sending a photo from someone else of Asta's name cut into their arm. This whole cutting behavior came as a result of Asta's presence in Kumo's life, and it hasn't been repeated.
Since he decided he wanted to be real stupid on multiple events. Speaking of lies though, Akumu says he's not fond of lies. So not only do I wonder how he'll respond to that, but also how he'll respond to what I'm about to bring up. Remember how I said the thought of Peaches being painted as a predator came from Kumo? Here's the clip.
And it would just come back to me regurgitating this point and reminding you that Peaches tried to cover up the fact that she was in a love triangle between Toasty Vanilla, who was like in his mid-20s, and the Teddy that draws, who was like 15 or like turning 16 at the time, when Peaches herself was 19 turning 20 back in like 2019, 2020. It's all in plain sight.
You say this a reminder, but I actually didn't really know much about this.
I did tell you
about this. I feel like it's been mentioned, but I don't know a lot of context behind this.
Me and Akumu I thought he would have told you, but I thought I've been kind of like forward about it whenever I've discussed it, is that this is the kind of shit that Peaches wants covered up and doesn't want acknowledged. So
Akumu himself hasn't made that claim publicly. He's smart enough to keep that as a private thought.
What the fuck are you talking about again? Kumo was referring to the fact that Toasty Vanilla was sexual and flirted with both Peaches and Teddy that Draws. Something that was done rather openly in the FCK server and behind the scenes. Where in this clip did he make a fucking predator accusation? Your evidence doesn't support your claim.
Kumo isn't though. That's where this idea came from. But let's not pretend that Kumo actually cares about what happened in the FCK server. What was the main problem? The degeneracy happened and no adult spoke up, right? A valid point to make and be concerned with. Why would I say Kumo doesn't care though? Well, the call that this came from was an in-law server, where they were watching my call with Cosmic and generally griping about it. Very interesting point of it is where in-law gets really upset for me taking issue with Cosmic seeing an 11-year-old being sexualized and doing nothing about it.
You allow someone to say something sexual to an 11-year-old and you give them a pass for it. Holy crap, you're pathetic.
So that's why they're a creep?
That's why they're a creep? Because they were just present?
How did in-law respond? No pushback from Kumo about that one, because he and in-law don't actually care. I've already spoken a bit about in-law, and maybe I'll do so more later, but her values being uncontested here by Kumo is very telling. Rules for thee, but not for me, right, Kumo? There's more too, because not only do these two not have an issue with Cosmic's treatment of kids, they just like her presence. Here she is in in-law server. Kumo's name is covered because it's Peach's dead legal name. Classy. I don't want to hear this freak crying about the FCK or Jax ever again, when they're happy to let someone that stalked kids and let an 11-year-old get sexualized into their spaces through this server. What motivated Kumo though? It certainly isn't getting justice for people he frames on his own channel as victims. I can tell you that much. Even Jordan knows that.
These are people that you supposedly at least have some level of care about, who are actively hanging out around people who talk like shit about you and your fucking identity. And I'm not trying to do the like guilt by association shit. I'm not saying you shouldn't hang around Kumo. I'm saying that you should be fucking looking at the behavior and the shit that you're cultivating. And like question yourself. I don't understand how you're not questioning yourself.
Of course not. I'll tell you where it comes from. It comes from the fact that Peaches embarrassed this little weirdo. You even see him making his intentions clear in the doc on the radio stream.
So if you want to talk about, let's talk about your video, because I saw that it's age restricted requested by the uploader, and I was watching it a bit, and I saw Hope was Peach's comment on it. That's how I found out about your video.
Yeah, 'cause she's fucking she's next. Kumo. She's on my list.
It's always been about his ego. Kumo thinks he's smarter than anyone around him, all while being unaware that word will get out about his actions. I'm sure he'll soon be an in-law server watching this video and melting down as well, which means his video randomly calling me a child predator will take longer to produce, because the last time he tried to make a claim like that it went so well, right? This claim of his comes from a Fur Affinity and Ink Bunny account that has Lio Convoy in the name, so let me break this down. The Fur Affinity account was questionable because of a picture Patchwork uploaded and tagged it. However, when you actually pay attention, you see the image Patch put there was dated from March 5th, 2020. The account it's tagging was made on March 5th of 2021. Did Patch have magical powers of clairvoyance? No. We can see how this happened by how Patch typed it. He cites my previous Twitter account. It's why Twitter was specifically mentioned. He wouldn't need to list Twitter if the intent was to tag an account I had on Fur Affinity. Truth is, he put the @ sign in front of the handle, and it auto-linked when the new account was made. But to the point, no, that's not me. And there's no evidence that it is. Following that is the Ink Bunny account, with the name of Sentinel Lio Convoy. And here's where I have to clue some people in on something. Guys, I didn't create the name Lio Convoy. It's the name of a Transformer character. Not every person that uses that name is me, believe it or not. Here's a guy with that name on an MLP forum. Here's a list of Twitter users with that name. Fun fact, in the old days of the Allspark, there was a user other than me named C16 Lio Convoy. When I introduced myself by my online handle at Transformer conventions, I had to specify which one I was because I always thought I was him. Heck, even on a defunct Thundercats message board, there's 2 Lio Convoys, and only one of them is me. Neither of those furry accounts are mine. Kumo will sure make the claim though, or rather, give it to Akumu to push without actually fact-checking things. Way to make Akumu look like a fool.
How would the Fur Affinity or the Ink Bunny account be used to call you a child predator? It would show nothing more than you being a degenerate, if it was your account, which it isn't. I also didn't find out about the Fur Affinity account from Kumo, so this whole thing of him pushing it onto me for me to push is really fucking silly.
In fact, Kumo loves making these claims. Like here, where he makes it about doodle tones.
Shush.
Okay. Here's I don't like berating people based on using voice changers, but come on, why this one specifically?
Is there a reason why they use a voice changer, or is it just a personal preference?
I think they're all pedophiles, and Doodles wants to sound like
keep
a
saying
young
that.
child.
Okay, keep saying that.
I think Doodles just wants to sound like a young child because
I don't
Doodles
think
knows
that's
their
the reason,
demographic.
Kumo.
I think that is. I mean, have you seen their art?
I'm not gonna say anything about their art. It's fine. Everyone progresses in their art differently.
Trash. Bad take. L+ ratio.
Okay, Kumo.
My art hasn't improved in like 10 years.
Despite Doodle's voice not being childlike. Not to mention an art style alone doesn't denote intention of predation. Kumo has made it clear that he thinks any statements against him are projection. I think he's actually the one doing the projection, like in this clip.
I'm a bit disturbed by the fact the entire time he's just putting together a fucking schoolgirl figurine.
Finally, she grew a backbone
How
at
long
the
do you think
very
before that's
end.
in the jar?
Oh wait, that was somebody else. I don't know.
The fact that he's putting together a schoolgirl in the background,
I don't judge it.
that's gonna be in a jar, I promise you.
I don't sexualize any of those figures or kids. Why is Kumo's mind going there? Makes you wonder what he's thinking. Let's be honest, Kumo has no credibility. He's a dishonest weirdo from the very beginning. It's why after my first video on them, he ran to the Fox Mafia to be buddy-buddy with them. He'll claim it was to farm them for dirt on me, but that doesn't explain why a guy that totally hates furries will do their dirty work for them by trying to spread Neora's garbage doc. Imagine, you hang out with people who are already highlighted as being awful and sexually depraved towards animals and people, and you'll be counted in their numbers. Truly, a fascinating phenomenon. It makes sense though. The Fox Mafia was sure fond of threatening people with sexual assault. This is something they have in common with Kumo, so he was surely in similar company.
Because your speech impediment makes it
Because you're
funny.
a fucking beta. I don't know, like, I put 2 and 2 together really quickly. Yeah, it's what a of the butt.
You sound like
what to
a-
do.
sound like a soy
How's
dog.
that when tell me what
sound
to
like
do,
an
beta
American.
brush? Beta brush, we're gonna rip you. We're gonna rip you, beta brush.
Yeah.
No, we're not No, we're not gonna bicker with you and call beta brush. We're actually trying to find where you live because we're gonna rip you tonight. We're gonna oil you down, beta. We're gonna get the petroleum jelly, beta. It's over.
It's gonna be like.
It's gonna be a prison rape, beta. Beta, you're getting.
You shove Lego
Beta.
bricks into your urethra, you fucking autistic monkey.
Beta, we're gonna stuff your asshole with ice cubes.
We're gonna slide in trampoline batteries inside your penis, and you're gonna be like all over the place.
Beta, we're gonna sound you with a screwdriver.
Kumo can claim this is a joke, or that the person was a predator or something, but threatening someone with sexual assault is unacceptable. Full stop. You're not going to spin this one. Now I know Kumo has claimed that I've sent cops to his place or whatever, but I have no clue who Kumo is in terms of identity, yet. If I had known, I would have called him by his real name by now. I'm not going to allow anonymity for sexual harassers if I can help it. But when I do find out, I'll be sure to file a report. It may not go anywhere, but it'll be there. Maybe he can trace some edgy JJK fan art in his response to the cops too. That's enough of that Fox Mafia stooge. Let's move on to the next person. This section will be pretty short, as I've covered him a couple of times already, but he doesn't want to go away. Like Kumo, out of a sense of revenge. Highlighted here, not that it's ever going to work out for him. I am, of course, talking about Gilded Pooh, the guy that collected zoo porn to own people. because that's completely sane. And yes, I know he's since destroyed the hard drive with said zoo porn. And you know what? That's good. I don't think he did it out of a place of changed morals as opposed to self-preservation, but I'm glad he did that either way. So instead, I'd like to know why this guy is obsessed with sexual assault. And make no mistake, he is. One thing I forgot to cover is how he spoke to Serafina when she went into his server in 2022, specifically telling her that she needs to be sexually assaulted multiple times. He has an obsession with this, as his podcast is cheekily named The Grapecast, a meaning that shouldn't be unknown. Actually, the name of it is Grape Culture, because that's just so much better. The guy is unhinged. It's why Kumo's actions in that call I highlighted happened in Gilded Pooh's server with him in call with zero pushback. He's fine with all of this. You'd assume a man with a child in his care wouldn't be making such a spectacle of himself in this manner online, yet here he is, in his late 30s and being fine with threatening people with sexual assault. Or in his latest video highlighting the sexual harassment others and myself has faced as though it's a joke. I've also been told by another person that Gilded sounds tired, that he wants to stop getting involved in stuff like this. So here's his chance to punch out and stop pretending like he's going to come out on top. Because sooner or later, his actions will come back to his doorstep, and the police in his area will eventually get involved. It's amazing what you'll be given when you follow leads of people who know your MO.
Hold on, there's no way I heard what I think I just heard. Did you just threaten to send the cops to Gilded Pooh's home because of fucking internet drama? And you deny doing this to Kumo, that you don't know anything about Kumo yet. So you're clearly digging into his personal information, so you're not exactly beating that allegation. And yet you're stating that you're willing to send the cops to somebody else's house to fuck with them because they're saying mean things about you online and daring to talk about you after you talked about them. Really?
Amazing indeed. While I gave Akumu apologies before and I stand by them, that's not to say he's done no wrong. As such, I'll address that here. See, one thing Akumu has done during this whole debacle is poison the well against any response to him. He'll frame it as trying to skirt accountability for the FCK, but it's not inherently what I'll be addressing here. Akumu is trying his best to get ahead of responses to his negligent and dishonest actions by making predictions on what we'll say in order to prime his audience to not listen when we finally speak up.
I've told my audience repeatedly to listen to both sides in my videos and my comment sections. I've even linked your videos and told them to go watch it. I told them to go watch this video of yours. I shared this video of yours. How exactly am I trying to keep people only listening to me if I'm telling people they should watch you and hear you out, or watch your two videos, your Crystal Flame and Conundrum video, where you did all the lying, so they can see it for themselves? I've also said several times why my TISM reports were made, because other people knew you were going to do several of the things that you went on to do in this video. You used the screenshots from Ellie. You've made allegations with a clip of Kumo obviously joking with Beta Brush. You apologized for the false accusation Supreme comment, but left out that you lied. A tactic I already talked about, that thing where they take accountability for one thing and then completely ignore the other shit. My TISM reports weren't entirely wrong on their predictions, so clearly the info I am being given isn't all wrong. And if it isn't wrong, how exactly is it well poisoning? Unless, of course, again, you're upset that the bullets in your gun were being taken out before you could fire them.
Not to mention his constant inferences that everyone else is lying while...
Constant inferences? That doesn't make any fucking sense. I've constantly proved that you lied. For example, you knowing that Peaches knew there were minors in the FCK server, and yet you told your audience that you doubted that she knew the next day. Or you claiming that I was withholding the logs from everyone when you knew that I was inviting other people to get their own copies of the logs. Do I even need to get into the February 28th call? I think those two are enough for just this fucking video.
Willfully diving into information he hasn't fact-checked and irresponsibly throwing out speculative accusations which would require his opponents to prove a negative. So yes, that's poisoning the well.
Yes and no. I do speculate because I want a conversation on the topic and enjoy having that conversation with my audience. Unlike you, I don't expect my audience to just buy everything I say blindly with no form of dialogue ever. I provide my thoughts, and if I'm not certain, I make sure to say take it with a grain of salt and that it's alleged, which is something that you hardly ever do.
Now let's dismantle some of the genuine nonsense he spouted. In one of his newest videos, he claims an inconsistency on my end.
Lio and Hopeless Peaches put Rosa into several public calls, telling her to go find a noose and make sure it was nice and tight when she jumped.
Go find the noose. Make sure it's nice and tight when you jump, hunger for hoes. But he didn't actually pay attention, did he? Firstly, there's the fact that he initially came to me about the FCK regarding them plotting against him. He didn't detail any degeneracy until later. Not only that, but he's conflating what happened in the FCK as analogous to Rosa's situation. Rosa let a person they knew was a child predator stay in a server with minors knowingly for 8 months. It wasn't even until recently that anyone found out what Toasty was doing to minors behind the scenes.
That's also not true. Several of the people in that server knew what Toasty was doing, and you for a fact fucking know that. It was also right there in the server. They didn't speak up. You, Lio, have dragged people into calls to berate them for exactly that, yet these individuals haven't received the same treatment. Where are the calls of the peanuts watching where you berate these people? They don't fucking exist. That's the inconsistency.
While posting porn around minors is absolutely wrong, and it's fine to call out, that's not the same as actively grooming people. Grooming requires targeting and intent. The degeneracy he detailed in the server itself is not that. Secondly, how does someone play that clip and think it was directed at Rosa? I literally said in that clip who it was directed at. He hungers for hoes. A deranged weirdo that's been mad ever since Serafina did a video exposing necrophiles a few years ago. The dude's a necrophile apologist. That's why I said what I did to him. If Akumu can't get a detail that's literally in the very clip he's playing correctly, then what's to say about the rest of the videos on all of this?
One, you're right. That clip wasn't directed at Rosa, and that's my fault. The other clips were directed at Rosa, and you know damn well the shit you said to Rosa. That isn't me condemning Lio for that either. Again, I'm not judging. I want consistency. Him pointing out that one clip was directed at someone else is a good correction. It ultimately doesn't change my point in the slightest because there are a plethora of other clips of him and Peaches berating Rosa. 2. Lio, you literally outright lied in your video. You said Peaches didn't know there were minors in the server a day after a call where she admitted to you that she knew Slimerge was a minor and in the server. So you all tell me down in the comments, what's worse? Someone who contradicts info that they know to lie to you, or someone who made a mistake in their claim?
He also claims that Nezzy is helping me with this response.
You all might be wondering, well, since Lio's been so quiet aside from getting ratioed by me and then deleting the tweet, what has he been up to? Why so quiet? And I can tell you exactly what he's getting up to because several sources have given me information. Aside from Lio working on addressing the accusations from Peaches and other people, most likely going to paint himself a victim to Peaches' manipulation, he's working with Nezzy Monster and Doodletones, 2 FCK members, to talk about the FCK. Huh. When was the last time that the FCK members banded together to produce a biased hit piece video trying to change the perspective on a situation to defend themselves, to make themselves look better? And how did that turn out?
Nezzy hasn't touched this video in any way. He can vaguely talk about his sources all he wants, but I already know who they are. One is ashamed of trusting him at all, and another is just as off as the rest of the people trying to cover this.
1. Nezzy Monster is helping you all with your responses. Just because she didn't touch the script doesn't mean she didn't and isn't helping you all. In just a moment, he actually proves that she's helped him. And 2, you didn't describe my sources in the slightest. And I have more than that. Keep looking around though, and while you do, I'd like to ask why you feel the need to try and discover who they are and bitch at them for it when you yourself have spies. And much of what they told me was true and in your final product. And of what they've shown me.
I'll have my own conversation with that person later. He also likes to point out that I had the logs for a few months but didn't cover them, getting awfully upset that I was busy and didn't, while making excuses for himself for not covering them earlier.
Because you're admitting that you've had the logs for months, but you've not made a single video talking about it, yet you care about accountability, and yet if you've had the logs for months, you, by the way, your daughter is your adopted daughter Peaches, right? You've had these logs for months.
Hate to break it to Akumu and his audience, but I have a full-time job alongside all the other things I do. I was also never told there was grooming going on in that server, as it was apparently external to it, nor did I know of all the possible minors that were in it. It's why I initially thought that Peaches and others didn't know there were minors there. Heck, even with Slimmers, I forgot the exporter pulls the most recent form of the name, so I didn't even recognize them and assumed no one else did either. I was clearly in the wrong on that, so I'll apologize for that. The point being that Akumu really doesn't have the right to get upset at me for not covering the logs when he had them longer and in general is less busy.
You're outright twisting the events, so let me autistically break this down for you. It was you who first said I had the logs, and I had been withholding them from everyone. You said that in the DMs with Laka Mocha Laka, so I pointed out that you had the FCK logs since October or November of 2023 and also did nothing with them. I, at the very least, was editing my series to discuss it, the entire FCK to begin with. You knew about my series. I'm not taking issue with you not talking about it. I'm taking issue with you accusing me of trying to withhold it from everyone in some attempt to grandstand me when you had been doing the same fucking thing, and you know that. Especially when you take into consideration that I was inviting people into the FCK server so they could get their own fucking screenshots so that I wouldn't be the only source. That way, the art commentary community couldn't say, oh well, since Akumu's the only source, it must not be valid. You knew that I was inviting people. The very reason you messaged Laka Mocha Laka to begin with was because they were invited to the FCK server and you wanted to know why. Yet you're saying that I was withholding it from everyone. That is my issue. I'm not grandstanding you. I'm taking issue with the fact that you're a lying fucking hypocrite.
You can see that based on his current upload schedule. It's almost like he's desperate to get a hold of possible responses to him. Curious.
I can easily get this video up for him. Even if I stay up all night, I can get it done.
But let's talk about the bigger elephant in the room. The fact that he chose to cover this without speaking to the majority of the victims that were minors in that server at the time. Those victims may not trust me currently because of the Rosa call, but Akumu's callous actions towards their well-being and wishes and how he handled this shows he might not actually care.
What the fuck are you talking about? This is a bunch of nonsensical words slapped together in some attempt, yet again, to moral grandstand with no clear fucking point. What callous actions towards their well-being are you on about? How I handled it is that I talked about it and made it public. For years, it was not made public by the same people who paraded around as Captain Accountabilities, like yourself.
In fact, I question if he cares about any victims of anything at all. It's why he's desperately trying to convince his audience that Ellie's harassment is made up, knowing that asking her to prove that she's not behind the counts is nigh impossible. All he can do is victim blame people that are struggling because he and Rin both botched how to handle this.
Desperately trying to convince my audience, he says. You mean in a video where I give my thoughts on the situation in the form of an A and B scenario. A being the scenario that I think it's someone who probably used to know Ellie, and B, possibly faked. Not once in my video did I at all make a definitive claim on whether it was either. You can see in my comments that my audience are also speculating about it, and yet when we look at you, Lio, you have made several definitive claims that contradict information you knew.
In fairness though, perhaps I may have some blame here. I banned him from Senate because he didn't keep his word that after he got answers from a certain person, he'd leave them alone.
Either Lio has been told a lie, or he's lying himself. After the Nezzy Monster Senate call in 2023, I didn't interact with her again until 2024 when she went suicidal, and I explained what I had said. So I'm a little confused here. Did he see into the future, have some Dune-like visions, drink the water of life, and see that I would reply to a tweet almost a year later to kick me out of Senate ahead of time? Or maybe he's conflating my Ponder video as interacting with Nezzy Monster, or me commenting on her video as her.
I also froze him out in DMs. Perhaps if I had maintained contact with him, I could have guided him on this better. So I guess we'll see about that. One thing he didn't, though, was bring up that Nezzy did actively try to stop some of Toasty's actions. Akumu claims this was out of fear of exposure, but offers no evidence to that. Merely speculating this is the truth because it's the outcome that makes the person he's actively working against look malicious and self-centered. While I think some of Akumu's actions here are wrong and he genuinely needs a better crew to be around, I hope he takes most of this as a learning experience. I know I certainly am. If you don't want people to see you as the person you feel you were painted as in Ponder's video, Akumu, you have to genuinely change your approach and actions. Aligning yourself with people who knowingly lie, whether by omission or otherwise, and try to strong-arm those they don't like into silence is not the way to do that. You could be very good at this, so don't waste your talents by squandering them with reprobate on things that need a more delicate touch. Also, you let Kumo play you for a fool without doing any research or double-checking to paint me as a degenerate.
You're an idiot. You're a full-blown retard. You denied Nezzy Monster aiding you in this video, and then you showed screenshots that only she could provide you. On top of the fact that the screenshots you're showing us validate what I said in my FCK video. August 1st of 2020, 5:50 a.m. I want you guys to keep in mind that Nezzy has a time zone difference. Toasty, you need to remove Slamers' NSFW chat. I'm not in charge of that. You'll have to ask the admin. You're friends with the admin. I wouldn't really call me and him friends, but sure, I'll ask him. Just warning you guys, that could become an issue. Could become an issue. Not that it was an issue. And again, August 1st of 2020. The message in the FCK server where Toasty tells the admin to remove Slamers' porn chat is July 31st of 2020. So even if we take into account the pedantic complaint of the timeline, it's either 3 days or 4 days after the fact that Ben the Looney threatened to expose this very same thing about the group. She didn't say anything about the Slamers porn chat. up until a few days after Ben the Looney threatened the group. And she says in the DMs that it could become an issue, not that it was already an issue. Her wording tells us how she views it, that it could become an issue, that it could become a problem for them as a group. This was 110% for optics. Now, with all of that said, that's not even nearly all of my issues and my questions and my curiosities to do with Lio Convoy. Me, Lio Convoy, and just a robot, unless Lio changes his plans on this and backs out of it. We'll be doing a StreamYard stream. They'll be coming onto my stream and we'll be having a chat. And I'll be asking questions. We'll be having a conversation. And you guys are welcome to join and listen in. Now, you won't be able to join in the actual call. Again, I've agreed that I will not be allowing anyone else onto the stream unless the two of them agree for that. So it'll just be us three. And you guys can watch, and if you have any questions, maybe they could be answered. But for the most part, the conversation between me and Lio is finally happening. I think. I'm fairly certain it's happening. And he also insists that Kumo has lied to me, and I'm very curious about that. So far, I've yet to see much evidence pointing to that, but if he can explain it, I'd love to hear it.
You have to go. But the only thing I was really upset about was the promise he broke. But to discuss abuse, I didn't see much of it to say that... I didn't see much of it, but I could say that the things that I did see, I would consider it to be mental abuse, mental and verbal.
Of course, there's no evidence for these claims. It's almost like it doesn't exist. Jay is also lying about me not calling them their real name, as seen here. Jay essentially says here that she's upset because I didn't pressure Peaches into making up with her. But she's also mad about me pressuring Jordan to apologize. This also goes back to Jay having the expectations that I intervene, but getting upset at me when I do. If Jay didn't have contradictory standards, she wouldn't have any.